This is part 2 of my recap on the demonic king who chases after his wife. At the end of the last episode, an assassin tried to kill Su, and she begins to doubt Prince Jin Wang's intentions. However, when Li Yao attacked her in Jin's defense, Jin steps in the way and suffers a heavy injury. We see them back at the palace, and Jin's dark energy is going out of control. He is kept restrained as Ling, and some of the elders try to treat him. They struggle to suppress the darkness, but Su arrives, saying she has a way to help Jin. Ling warns her that it's too dangerous, but Su approaches and kisses Jin, transporting them into her inner space. Jin comes to his senses and apologizes, saying he had no intention to absorb her power. Su says she is just helping him because she didn't want to owe him for protecting her. She says they are now even and turns away, but Jin's condition becomes worse and they are sent back to the real world. Jin screams in pain, unleashing tremendous energy and blowing everyone away. Suddenly, a ray of light appears, and Li Yao materializes in the room, able to calm Jin down. She has not been able to find a cure for Jin, but suggests they need to find Grandmaster Han Yun, the best potion maker in the land. But Ling questions if he would even help, because he has a reputation for being cold and not involving himself with human affairs. But Li Yao is confident, planning to give the Grandmaster the tokens from 4 great houses. These will give him the benefits and assistance from those houses forever. Su insists on accompanying Li Yao to find the Grandmaster, saying she can help out, but Li Yao laughs at her. Despite their differences, they come to an agreement and head off. At the Crown Prince's palace, we learn that he had actually let Jin and Su go. He wants to kill Jin, but the only way to do that is to let his darkness consume him. He would need to kill Su, who is the key to curing his darkness, but the Crown Prince also wanted her time-space powers for himself. His partner calls him too greedy, and the two go their separate ways. Su and Li Yao travel on their flying horse to the Yunwu mountain, but abruptly fall and land in the forest. They come to a river of mist, which Li Yao says only highly skilled experts can cross. But she is able to fly, and Su hitches a ride to make it across to the other side. They make it to the Yunwu mountain, and the Grandmaster lives at the top, but they find that it's protected by a barrier that disables their powers. Li Yao is unable to fly, so they are forced to climb up, which Li Yao struggles with. Su takes the lead, and eventually are able to make it to the top. They meet the Grandmaster Han Yun, and Li Yao asks for his help, offering the 4 tokens, but he has no interest in them, much to her astonishment. On the other hand, Su writes down the formula for a biological weapon, but is shocked when he reveals he already knows it. He says he has no interest in their gifts, but tells them if they fight, he will help the winner. He creates an hourglass with white and black pieces. When white falls, they can use their powers, but when black falls, they cannot. The fight begins. As a white piece falls, Li Yao creates countless arrows, firing them at Su. Su dodges the arrows, but when some are about to hit her, she manages to block with a barrier of wood. Li Yao attacks with her scarf, cutting through the wood and binding Su. But a black piece falls, and Su is able to pull Li Yao in and kick her. Li Yao loses sight of Su, and she reappears behind her with her sword to her neck. And Su is declared to be the winner, but the Grandmaster was also impressed by Li Yao's abilities. He invites her to participate in his event, where he will choose a disciple next month. Li Yao leaves Jin's care to Su, and she leaves to prepare for the event. The two then get ready to return to treat Jin, and the Grandmaster uses a strange technique that teleports them across the country. Su is shocked how they arrived back at the palace, and the master reveals he used space magic. Hearing this, Su is determined to become his disciple. The Grandmaster begins treating Jin, and is able to temporarily stabilize his condition by encasing him in a crystal. He tells the others that, in order to treat Jin, he requires a large amount of high-quality crystals within 6 hours to make an elixir. Ling is shocked at the number of crystals needed, and they immediately gather all the crystals that they have, but find that they don't have enough. Ling explains to Su that crystals have different grades based on their color, and that they are found when cutting open stones, so it's all up to luck to get the high-quality crystals. Su's dragon Meng appears, salivating at the thought of eating the crystals. It turns out Meng is able to sense the grade of the crystal without even cutting it open. Su gets an idea and heads to the market. Meng wants to run around, but she warns him that he would attract people's attention. But he tells her not to worry, and transforms into a dog. They go to the stone guessing market, and Meng picks out all the valuable stones. As Su goes to pay, 2 strangers suddenly appear in the market and announce that they are buying up all the stones for their grandfather's birthday. They are identified as Hao and Di, the young masters of the Luoya house. They approach Sue as soon as they notice her purchasing stones and tell her that only they can do so today. Sue tries to ignore them, walking away, but the two try to grab her bag. They end up spilling all the stones on the floor and mixing them all up. They are unable to tell who owns which stones, so Sue proposes a wager. They each pick 3 stones, and whoever chooses the best gets to keep everything. The siblings pick first, but when Hao grabs a good stone, Ming quickly pees on it to stop him from picking it. When they open up the stones, the siblings have 2 crystals, while Sue has 3. Sue's crystals are also higher in quality, so she gets to take all the stones. Sue leaves, and the siblings wonder who she is. Sue's sister Shuxi appears and tries to convince the siblings to join her in dealing with Sue, but they are not interested. Shuxi is then approached by the Crown Prince's ex-partner and claims he wants to be her ally in dealing with Sue. Back at the palace, Ling is shocked at the number of crystals Sue was able to obtain. They were able to get enough crystals, so Hongyan goes to treat Jin. In Sue's inner space, Ming is mad. He only got to keep 1 measly crystal and throws it away. Sue and Ling are waiting outside, and Hongyan finishes Jin's treatment. Jin is revealed in a much better state, having his dark energy stabilized. Sue tells him once again that she has repaid her debt to him and tries to leave, but he tells her to stay by his side. But Sue is hesitant because when his dark energy goes out of control, he will try to devour her power again. However, the Grandmaster tells her that if she becomes strong enough, Jin will not be able to devour her power, but instead she will be able to cure him. Hearing this, Sue becomes even more determined to become his disciple. The Grandmaster tells her that if she can learn how to make an elixir in time, he will let her participate in his disciple selection event. Han Yin bids them farewell and leaves through a portal. A few days later, Sue and Jin travel together through the ocean. Sue is curious where they are going, and they soon arrive at an island that rises out of the sea. Jin tells her that this is a special island that only emerges once every 100 years. It contains countless secret cultivation books that are highly sought after. More ships arrive, and they are soon joined by other people, including Ling, the siblings, and Liao. Liao confronts Sue because she had promised she would leave Jin's side, but Sue says that she changed her mind. Liao is outraged, and her brother Tian is ready to help her get even, but she calms down, and they have to work together to open the door. They all activate their different elements to open the door, but only when Sue secretly activates her space element does the door open. Once they enter, it's pitch black inside. Jin uses his lightning magic and lights up the area. There are countless doors revealed, but only one leads to the treasure, and the rest are just traps. They all pick different doors to try, and Ming pops out of Sue's clothes and jumps on Liao. Liao gets annoyed and leaves to choose a different door, but Ming opens the door, sensing treasure. They are transported to a desert area where they encounter a sand monster. Jin falls into some quicksands and Sue fights with the monster, but the monster grabs her from behind, throwing her up into the air, and Sue sees that the monster has a crystal core. Jin gets free and catches Sue. She tells him about the core and decides to use her space magic to stop the monster's movements. Jin takes the chance and uses his lightning to destroy the monster. Jin finds a red orb from the remains and explains that when a cultivator is about to die, they condense their energy into an orb. The orb has the power to instantly kill, but also a rare chance to be absorbed instead. Jin hands it to Sue, thinking she could use it for protection. Soon after, an enormous fish skeleton emerges from the ground and soon turns into an entrance. They enter the room, and it appears to be the treasure room. Jin tells her she is only allowed to choose 7 books, so she quickly searches through the books. Jin notices the others are all trapped as they chose the wrong doors. After Sue finishes choosing her books, they are all transported back to the hallway. Sue gives Ling the Book of Fire and Jin the Book of Lightning. Liao is devastated that Sue has found the treasure room from her original door, and Tian swears to help her get even. There is an earthquake, and they try to run to the exit, but everyone gets split up. Sue is transported outside, and is suddenly attacked by ice. Liao's brother Tian intends to kill her and take the books back for his sister. Sue can tell that he is even stronger than Liao, and is barely able to dodge his attacks. Sue's foot gets stuck, and she gets trapped in an ice coffin. However, using the spirit orb that Jin gave her earlier, she is able to melt some of the ice and throw the orb at him. There is an explosion, and the ice coffin goes flying into the ocean. When Sue wakes up, she finds herself on land, although she is still trapped in ice. Jin finds her and says that he will help free her if she agrees to one condition. He tells her that she will have to marry him as a reward for saving her because he spent the whole night searching for her in the sea. She immediately rejects his proposal. Jin changes the condition to dating him for 3 months, and Sue reluctantly agrees. Jin uses his lightning to melt the ice, and it puts great strain on his body. He manages to free Sue, but ends up falling unconscious. Sue can tell that he was already wounded, but still tried so hard to help her. Sue takes care of him in a cave, and wonders if it was Liao who hurt him so badly. Sue searches through the forest for herbs and makes medicine for Jin. When Jin wakes up, Sue asks him about his wound. Jin tells her that when they got separated, he was trapped in a room with Liao, and to escape, he had to do the deed with her, but instead, he chose the alternate option to fight a clone of himself, which after great effort, he came out victorious but suffered some wounds. He requests that she stay by his side to help him recover, so she may appear in his dreams. Liao is left trapped in the room, humiliated that Jin chose not to be with her. She becomes enraged, and her clone appears, which she must defeat to escape the room. In the morning, Sue heads out to gather more herbs. Jin tells her not to go, but she tells him she needs to practice her elixir making for the Grandmaster's upcoming event. She starts gathering the herbs, but is soon confronted by Tian. He was able to absorb the spirit orb and become even stronger. Sue runs away from him as he continuously attacks. Despite her efforts, Sue is eventually caught and her hands are tied up as they go to find Jin. Sue tries to get out of the rope, but he tells her that it's made from his ice and only gets tighter the more she struggles. On their way, she tells him that she needs to pee. She hides behind a rock and quickly summons Meng, who is easily able to bite through the rope. After a while, Tian notices that something is wrong and finds that Sue has escaped. He becomes furious and Sue makes a run for it, but after a while, she becomes exhausted. Meng finds the crystal he had thrown away and eats it. He uses its power to give Sue a speed boost, but she struggles to control her speed. Tian creates a massive blizzard to flush her out, and as she tries to avoid his attacks, she runs into a rock and falls down the cliff, landing in a strange crimson area. Tian follows after her, but finds that his ice magic doesn't work in the scarlet area. There's a cave, and Sue heads deeper into the area. The cave is filled with fire, and when Tian tries to use his ice magic, it immediately bursts into flames, and a fire pushes him outside. A stone tablet appears, saying that the fire cave can only be sealed if you sacrifice half of your cultivation. Tian doesn't care about the penalty, and seals the cave. Soon, Jin arrives, having recovered from his injury. Tian tells him that he sealed Sue away, and that he would need to sacrifice his cultivation to open the cave. Jin is furious, and knocks him out. Inside the cave, Sue passes out from the heat and Meng tries to help her. He takes out her alchemy pot and puts her inside. Sue dreams about helping Jin, and Sue starts gathering herbs unconsciously, and it's combined with the water from her inner space. It all comes together as Sue rises with a tremendous power and even absorbs all the flames in the cave. Jin sacrifices his cultivation and reopens the cave. He finds Sue unconscious on the floor. She wakes up and is glad to see him. She is surprised she is alive, and when she opens her hand, she finds 3 pills. Jin tells her that they are pills to help restore one's cultivation. She had unconsciously made them while wanting to help Jin recover. Jin takes one of the pills and is able to restore the cultivation that he sacrificed to open the cave. Sue becomes happy that with these pills, she is qualified for the Grandmaster's event. Elsewhere, the Liu siblings are walking through the market, complaining about Sue, who beat them at stone guessing and finding the secret books. Hao is worried because he will be going up against her in the Grandmaster's event. Suddenly his coin pouch is stolen and they catch the thief. She begs for mercy and offers to tell them a secret about Sue. After hearing what the woman had to say, they are suddenly more confident about going up against Sue. The day of the event arrives, and the Liu siblings plan to expose Sue. The Crown Prince acts as the host of the event, and Grandmaster Hong Yun makes a flashy entrance. The Crown Prince announces the rules. Every family is allowed to send one person to submit an elixir they have created. If the elixir is of high enough quality, the pot will glow and they will be allowed to participate in the event. Hao submits a giant elixir, which doesn't even fit into the pot at first, but he ends up qualifying with a red glow. Ling casually passes through with his elixir, and Shuxi passes as well, surprising the Crown Prince. When it's Sue's turn, Liao interrupts. She questions Sue about the whereabouts of her brother. Sue refuses to tell her unless she can beat her in this test. They both throw their elixirs in, and the crowd is impressed at Liao's blue glow. However, Sue's elixir is rated with a purple glow, the highest possible level. But before Sue qualifies, Liao points out that Shuxi is already in the competition, and it's against the rules to have two members of a family participating. But suddenly, the siblings' plan to expose Sue is put into action, and Dee exposes that Sue is actually adopted and has no right to participate for her family. This plan backfires and Jin jumps on stage, claiming Sue is not breaking any rules and can compete as a representative of his family instead. But that's where this video ends. I hope you enjoyed the video. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.